Just to follow up, is it, so I've heard some discussion of whether tickets should be transferable. That's obviously a big issue. Is it ever appropriate to hold back any tickets from being transferable or to do kind of the off the manifest kind of things? Is that something that is ever appropriate, Mr. Perez?
I'll give you a specific example. In the state of Colorado, there's a venue that we ticket, Red Rocks, and the first row of that very iconic venue is reserved for ADA seating.
Right.
And because of laws, we're unable to verify people's disabilities, and as part of a consent decree with Denver Arts and Venues and some advocacy groups, we're actually able to make those tickets non-transferable to have a greater influence over those tickets being resold and making sure that the people with disabilities were the ones that were actually using it.
How about if the venue or the band wants to hold back tickets for itself? Is that something that could be non-transferable? Is it ever appropriate for that to be non-transferable?
There are holds, and then there is the issue of should that ticket be non-transferable. Artists can hold back inventory for important purposes.
So I've seen Mr. Vaccaro seem to be objecting to that kind of practice. Is that true? Or
Well, just for clarity's sake.
is that a transparency issue?
I think that as far as holdbacks, that bands and artists should be able to hold back whatever tickets they want, just as long as they disclose them to the public. So as far as holdbacks, it's that. I think the problem with transferability is it gets to a slippery slope on what can be transferred or not. And classic examples, Ed Sheeran said his tickets aren't transferable. Nobody can make it to the show. The tickets were selling for less than face value. Even though he had a face value exchange, he wouldn't let consumers transfer them. And especially when you get to transferability.
No, I understand that, but I'm sort of thinking there's a difference between 100% non-transferable and 5% non-transferable.
I agree with you. I think you're correct. It's a huge distinction.
Is that something? Is that a line that you think Congress could draw in an effective way?
I think it would be very difficult to do unless it was very tightly written so that people couldn't use that to advance their, let's say, monopoly on tickets. That's the problem.
Okay. Maybe a question for Ms. Howe. Ms. Burns was pointing out how many venues you own in our district: House of Blues, the Padres, Humphreys, the Civic Center. So these venues have experienced this kind of fraud, and they seem to have little recourse against brokers and platforms that engage in this deceptive behavior. What are the remedies, and what suggestions do you have for us to address this kind of problem?
Thank you for the question. A couple things. One is, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, we're fighting bots every month and every day. We'll block 3 billion every month, 30 billion this year. But more importantly, we need to figure out how to change the conditions at the on-sale. So we're investing in products like Verified Fan and Smart Queue that allow real fans to actually get those tickets instead of brokers and secondary markets. We're also investing in digital technology that shuts that fraudulent ticket market down. So instead of the anonymous barcode that can be, you can take a screenshot and send it to somebody else and it's a fraudulent ticket, that digital ticket is now tied to your identity.
Ms. Burns, you had you're making an anti-competitive argument. Does this kind of vertical integration for security make the challenge more difficult for you?
Absolutely. They control the supply chain end to end, starting with artists, the venue.
So given the concern about security, how would you suggest we draw the line between primary and secondary?
I'm not sure if I'm tracking the question.
So Ms. Howe's made an argument that because she's issuing the tickets, she has a way to make sure that they're followed kind of through the course of the transfer. That, again, seems to root transferability into the same concern you had before.
And I think it's possible to use technology. We should explore the use of technology in order to track the ticket, right. Prevent fraud. Where we take issue is how Ticketmaster's doing it, and through the use of safe technology is not for that purpose. We don't think it's for the legitimate purpose of cracking down on fraud, because again, remember, they don't do any sort of background check on the individual. They don't know who else is going. In terms of tracking those issues, It's just not used for that
You
purpose.
think they're two different issues? My time has expired, but I appreciate all the witnesses being here and look forward to working on this.